Hi guys, and welcome to another Bootstrap 4 video. This is Jamie from System22 and webdesigntechtips.com. We're going to continue on with our Bootstrap basics. We're about finished with our pricing page here, so let's move on to our services page. So if I pull over my root folder here, the root folder is where we started. It was just an empty folder. We built our index.html, the home page, about page and price page, and created a custom CSS style sheet. So what we're going to do, we'll just copy the price page, Control C, Control V to paste, and then we're going to rename it F2, and we'll call it services. Now mine's not set to show known file types, so this is services.html. If yours has .html after it and it is showing the file types, make sure you keep the .html on the end so it knows it's an HTML file. Okay, so here's our page. Let's open it with our text editor. I'm using brackets. If you don't have a text editor, brackets is absolutely free, and you can download it from a link below the video, and it's got some great features. So as we've done with the other pages, we're going to just change the title. And we want to go down to our menu here. Here's the services, and put in what it's called, which is services.html. I'm going to copy that because we need to put this in all the other page menus too, as it's a new page, to make the links work. And what we actually want to do in a moment is move the active class, but I'm going to paste this into our other pages. I've got all of our other pages open here, so let's go to the price page, up to the nav bar, paste that link in the services tab, Control S to save, about page, down to the nav bar this time, replace that hashtag, Control S to save, and just want to do it on the index page also. Here we are. Control V to paste, Control S to save. Great. Let's go back to our services page and continue on. Now we've got the active link from our pricing page. We now want to put on the services page to put that little line under it. So it's Control X to cut, Control V to paste. There we go. Now if we move on down to our breadcrumbs, we just need to change this to services as well. Okay, let's just take a look at the page. So I've saved that. If we go back to our folder, double click on the page, it'll open it in your browser of choice. Need to change that to services. We've changed that to services. As you can see, that active link has put the line under it, which is perfect. And it's changed it up here with services. That's fantastic. Let's just change that pricing. We'll get rid of this section. And what we're going to do is put a title and a list using some Font Awesome icons below it. Go back to the text editor. There it is. I forgot to change the heading right there, services. So we're going to be using Font Awesome today. Let's save that, Control S. And if you want to learn how to add Font Awesome to your site, watch one of our earlier videos. I'll try and put the link below where we added our Font Awesome initially for our footer social media icons here. We'll be using them again. So let's go to Font Awesome. I'm just going to type in font. There it is. And again, this link's below the video also. And I'm going to go to icons. And I'm going to want only the free ones. And let's choose a specific bunch. Let's say computers or something like that. There we are, computers. And I'll use a few of these. So I've got this up here ready for when we want to use them. Let's go back to our text editor. And here was our first section with a bit of text and a carousel. Let's get rid of that. And let's create a new section, start from scratch. I'll leave the price one down below because we might want to use that section for something else in a minute. So we're going to start out as usual with a section. I'm not going to give it an ID at the moment because I don't want any specific background, or I don't want to scroll to it. I can always change that at a later date if I change my mind. Okay, and we want it to be a contained section, so it wants to be boxed. So we give it div with a class of container. Now, inside that container, we want to put our contents, funny enough. So what do we want? We want a heading, and then we're going to want a row with some columns. What I'm going to have is 2 columns. And if you remember from our rows and columns, Bootstrap's made up of 12 equal parts, so I want 2 6s. And if you want to learn more about columns, there's a special dedicated video all about columns, and that link is below also. But if you've been following along, you're going to know exactly what's going on here. Okay, so let's drop down and put a heading in there. Or I guess it would be a subheading. So I'm going to have a new div. And I want the text in here to be centralized, so I'm going to give it a class of text center. Now inside there is where we actually want to put the text that we want. So let's say we'll make it H2, heading 2. Say something like everything to keep business running. Great, so we've got a title in there. And next we're going to want to create some rows with those 2 columns that I was talking about. Let's just save this and see what we've got so far. Control S. I'm going to have to add that gap 100 class to that container to give it a gap top and bottom. Or if I show you it first, if you haven't been following, then I can show you it afterwards. Let's go back to the site, just make sure I did save that. Yeah, I did. Here's our services page. Let's refresh. That title should change. This will disappear, and we should just have a simple title going across there. There we go. And like I say, I need to put that gap 100 in, which was that class that we created to give it a similar gap, top and bottom of 70 pixels. So I'll just put that in and show you the difference. Here it is right here. Control S to save, back to the site and refresh. There we go. Now what I want to do is have 2 columns here with a list of various services. So let's go in and create our row with 2 columns. So we're going to have a div with a class of row. And inside that row we want 2 columns that are half the width. So we'll say div with a class of column medium 6. Now what do we actually want in there? Well, we're just going to have some text and some icons, but let's give this a name so we can target it, and we'll call it, I don't know, serv for services. And inside there, I'm just going to do one at first. When I'm happy with it, I'll populate the next column. I can put this column, empty column there, ready for our contents. So we've got a left and a right column there. Okay, so inside here, I'm going to want literally some paragraph text with a font awesome and a bit of text in there. So I'm going to say P, and I think I'll give this a class because we might want to target something within it. And we'll call it, again, something abbreviated for services text. So let's just call it SRV, Stevie Ray Vaughan. And inside there, we're going to want a font awesome first thing. So if we go to where we went just now to our font awesome and select whichever one we want to use, I'll just use the first one there. Just going to click on it. And here's the code we want to use. It says just click to copy the HTML back to the site and paste it in. There's that little font awesome right there. And what we want to do is after that we want to add some text. So just after the icon there, let's see if we can't grab a bit of dummy text. I know I've got some on my pricing. Obviously you would have text if you're building this site for a client or a customer. I don't know if that's going to be enough. Let's take it from, well, let's take this whole thing. Control C to copy back to our services page. I'm just using lorem ipsum dummy text here. Go back up to where we were and paste it in right there. Okay, by default that's going to be aligned to the left. So now we've given this a class. We probably want to give it some padding on the outer, and also we want to style our icon the way we want it. So let's just save this and see what we got. It's not going to look too exciting yet. Control S, back to the site. And refresh. There we go. We've got one little column with a little blurb. I want to make that bigger. And I think I might justify this text so it's more square. So let's do that. First thing I want to do is give this some actual padding. So I'm using Google Chrome here. If I right click and open it up with the inspector, and we're right here. So this on the services, let's give that a padding. Let's say 25 pixels. That'll be all round. One entry is all round. You can't actually see it very well, but that's actually giving it 25 pixels space all around there. Now what do we want to do with our font awesome icon? Let's have a look, see. We look down here and click on the font awesome icon itself. First thing, let's change the font size. Let's make it a lot bigger. Say 40 pixels. Yep, that's made it a lot bigger. And let's make it blue, our nice blue color that we've been using throughout this site, that sort of blue up there, which was 1117 something. I'll grab it from my code here. Let's have a look at our CSS. Find that color. There it is. Oh, 181174, that's what it was. Let's copy that. So we'll say color and paste in that amount there. Okay, that's fine. What I kind of want to do is think I'm going to float it to the left so it's pushed over a little bit more. There we go. That sort of dropped it down more in line with that text as well. Now I think I want to give it a bit of margin at the top. We just want to drop down just a couple of pixels there, I think, so it's in line with that a bit more. And I want to give it a bit of space on the right between it and the writing, so let's do that first. We'll say margin right. I don't know, let's give it something like 10 pics, 15 pics. Let's try 15, that might be too much. I think that'll work. We can change it back if we don't think so. Like I say, we want to drop it down just by a few, 2 or 3 pixels. Let's say margin top. Say 3 pixels. What was that going to do? I think that's about right. It just dropped it down, so it's just about in line with that. Okay, so I'm fairly pleased with that actually. I think the only other thing that I might want to do is justify this text. So let's just copy this CSS, left click and drag to copy. And I'll put this CSS below the video as usual. Control C to copy. Let's go back to our style sheet. And we want to target SRV because it's within this P class right here. So it's going to be SRVI for the icon. SRVI, and we should be able to target that. Okay, let's go down to the bottom and we'll start a services section. We'll give it a title // and as you know, anything written between those 2 stars will not be read as code. And these comments make it a lot easier for finding stuff. And it was SRV, it's a class, .srv, and within that we want to target the icon I. Open, close some curlies, and just paste the code we copied from our Chrome Inspector in there. And one other thing we did, we added 25 pixels. Let's look at the services. We added 25 pixels to our class of serv. So let's add that as well. So I think I'll put this on top of this because that's the way it sits in the HTML. serv. And all we wanted to do was 1 entry of padding. 25 pixels to give that breathing room around that whole little paragraph section there. Let's save that, go back to the site and see what we've got. I got a feeling that it's going to do it. I'm going to close that inspector out and that should stay exactly the same. There we go. I think what I'll do is I'll add the class of text justify to this so it sort of fills it out a bit more. Might work, might not. We can always change it back if we don't like it. So here's our services. Here's the class of SRV. So let's add the class of text justify to justify this text. Save that, Control S, and back to our site. Refresh now and see if there's any difference there. Yeah, it's kind of squared it up on the end there. That's okay. That's fine. I'm going to leave it just like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this, 3 on one side, 3 on another, or you can do 4, or you can do 5, do whatever you want. So we've got an actual list. So let's go. And here's our 1 column. So I want to repeat this. 2, 3, and let's copy those. Control C, and put them all within our next column as well. Control V to paste. There we are. Let's save. Refresh, and we should have 2 columns now of little services, things with icons. Okay, that's good. Let's give it a little bit more space between them. Let's just add the margin bottom 3 to each of these. And this is a nice Bootstrap 4 class, so you don't have to go into your CSS. I'll have to copy this over, so I'm going to space, M for margin, B for bottom. Let's say 3. We can always take it up some more. Let's just save that one. I'm going to copy this just in case it's not enough before I paste it into all the others. Control C, Control S to save. Let's have a look on the site, see what that actually does. Doesn't seem to have made much difference there. Let's make that 5. Control S to save. Yeah, as you can see, that's giving it a bit more space. I don't know if that might be too much. Let's just make it split the difference. We'll say 4, and that margin goes from 1 to 4, and it's measured in M's, I believe, which are by default 16 pixels, and I think it's the default size of whatever your paragraph text font size is. Yeah, that just gives it a little bit more. I think that's going to work fine, so I'm going to copy that throughout these other ones. MB4, Control C, we're about done here. I'm sure you know what's coming next. We want to go in and change the font awesomes, and obviously you're going to change your text in each one. I mean, I'll just add a word here and there just to make them look a little bit different. And if you want to, if you've got different amounts of text in there, you can give it a minimum height so they're all the same height. I'm not going to do that right now. And to change the fonts, all we need to do is go back to our font awesomes. Choose the next font that you want. Choose that download one. Again, I just left clicked on it. Copy the code back to the site. And here's our first icon. Just paste it in for your second icon, or wherever it is you're wanting to replace it. And let's save that. Have a look what we've got on our site now. There we go. As you can see, that's changed. I'll just pause this and I'll do the rest, and we're about done. Okay, so let's refresh, and I've changed those icons out now. There we go. So you've got a nice little service section list right there. Pretty easy to do, and those font awesomes make it stand out nicely. So that's great. That's all we'll do for this section today. In the next one, we'll get rid of these pricing tables. I think we'll reuse our little gradient section here and have some blurbs with icons and explanations, maybe some call to actions buttons, more about our services underneath. So I hope you've enjoyed that and found it useful. If you have, please give it a thumbs up, comment, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're interested in web development, take a look down below. We've got some great free courses down there, as well as some premium courses with some huge discounts for our YouTube subscribers. So do check it out. Once again, this has been Jamie with System22 and webdesignandtechtips.com. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.